So let's start the session. So first of all, I will be talking about the cloud computing, like what is a cloud computing. Then I will be talk about types of cloud computing, then traditional versus cloud computing system. Then we'll move on to Windows Azure, Azure infrastructure, web roles, worker roles, Azure storage, and at the end I'll give you a product walkthrough. So what is a cloud computing? As you can see here, I have mentioned that cloud computing is the delivery of computing as a service where shared resources, software and informations are provided to customer as a service over the internet. So basically in cloud computing what happened, we can share the informations, we can take the backup of our resources, and we can share the softwares, we can provide the information to the customer through the internet, and we can the best part is that we can access the information from anywhere from web, because cloud represent internet, so we can access internet on our mobile phones, on our tablets, on our PCs, on our iPads, on our smartphones, so we can access it from anywhere. And the best part is it is a multi-tenant solution which is provided by vendors. So one application will be shared among multiple users, and it's elastic, pay as you go, scale up or scale down, means like we can scale up our services, or we need to pay only that much money which we are using for with the services which we are using. Okay, and if any point of time, if you found that you need less services, you can scale down your services, and if any point of time you want to scale up, if you want to use more services, you can scale up your services. So this is cloud computing basically. And if I'll talk about the types of cloud computing, basically, so there are the three building blocks of cloud computing: SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. SaaS is software as a service, PaaS is platform as a service, and IaaS is infrastructure as a service. So basically in SaaS, this is for end users who do not want to be develop any new application, or who do not want to host any application. They only want to use the applications. They only want to use the and basically all of these applications like SaaS, PaaS and IaaS, it allows user to run application and store data online, and however each of them they offer a different level of user flexibility and control. So it allows, like as I already told you, that SaaS, it allows user to run existing online application, means user can access ready-made applications are there. And in PaaS, it allows user to create their own cloud application using supplier specific tools. So there are specific tools and languages. So with the help of those tools and languages, the developer can build their own cloud applications. And IaaS, it allows user to run or test any application on cloud hardware, or we can say that it is like a small operating system on hardware, and the user can access that operating system at their end. It can upload the data, it can create the data, so other services also, because you know that setting up servers are very expensive and tedious task. So in spite of setting our server, we can rent a server online, okay, and we can do the testing of our application, we can upload our application on that server, and that can be accessed by the clients, or that can be accessed by the users. Now if I'll talk more about SaaS, it is the easiest way to cloud compute. And for example, there are many examples of SaaS. For example, Google Docs, Zoho, they provide online word processor, spreadsheets and presentation package. And we have more tools like Pixlr, Ivory for pictures and image editing and sharing. And we have business dedicated applications like Employees, NetSuite and Salesforce. Okay. So now advantage of SaaS is that all the applications are free or charged via subscription. We can access those applications from any computer, right? But there are many applications who are not suitable for business use. So we can build our own application using PaaS over here. Now in PaaS, it provides environment and tool for creating new online applications. Like example, we have Google Map Engine. It allows us to create and run and maintain new web applications on Google infrastructure. Now the advantage of PaaS is it allows rapid development of online application at very low cost. Right? Now, there is a difference between traditional system and a cloud system basically. So let's understand the difference between a traditional system and a cloud system. So in traditional system, companies are spending a lot of money and efforts for maintaining their infrastructure, and they are paying less focus on innovation, and they also have to maintain other things like hardware, operating system, applications, etc. But in cloud computing, we do not have to work on maintenance of system or upgradation of software. As you can see here, we can pay more attention on innovation part, and other rest of the things like maintenance part, the hardware part, the infrastructure part will be maintained by the third party vendor or by the vendors. And if there is any new upgradation comes in the market, that will also be managed by the vendors. Okay, let's take one scenario here that there's a company, and that company spend a lot of money, efforts on maintaining servers, power, bandwidth, network, storage spaces, software, and a team of experts. And if there is any problem come in traditional system, so what happened? We have to connect to the system support, and they will take time to maintain it. And if there is any new version of software arise for upgradation in traditional systems, so it will be a tedious task to upgrade the software, as and maybe the whole system is shut down and it will not work properly. It is possible that the upgradation which we have done, it will not work properly. So big companies can deal with this because they have lots of other resources. But what about the small companies? So in such scenarios, the small companies maybe they can't survive and they have to close the company, or they will lose the business. So in this scenario, cloud computing is a better way to run business, as instead of setting everything by ourselves, we can use the service online, and we do not need to worry about setting servers, network, storage spaces, team, and software upgradation. We simply logged in, customize as per our requirement, and start using it. So like this, we can save our money and we can save our time also. Okay, and because all the information is coming through cloud, so not only on laptop or PCs, but on smartphones and tablets can also access cloud computing applications. Now we come to Windows Azure. What is Windows Azure? So before talking about Azure, let's talk about what do we require to run and test an application on the internet. So we need to think about the OS, we need to think about the network, we need to think about the storage, and we need to think about the scale. Scale means when many users geographically connected. Okay, that is called scale. Now we will be going to build our new application, or we will be going to build our application. So first of all, we have to collect all the resources, operating systems and networks and everything. Right. So now what if there was a different way? Means what if there is something which can take care of all other things like operating system, network, storage, scale, and let us worry about only one thing, that is our application. Is this possible? Or if this happens, so we'll be it will be very helpful to us. Why? Then we do not need to worry about the operating system, the network, storage, scale, and other things. We can only concentrate on our application. And okay, so if we got a structure like that, we can build our application faster. And this is the idea behind Windows Azure. So Windows Azure is a cloud computing platform and infrastructure created by Microsoft for building, deploying, and managing applications and services through a global network of Microsoft managed data centers. Windows Azure is a Microsoft cloud computing platform, which means that if it's designed to run our application and scale the services over the internet. Windows Azure provides the application-centric view of cloud computing. That means we can manage the entire life cycle of the application, from an initial design, development, and testing to deploy the application online, and to monitor and scaling the application that is running on internet. So we can do many things over here. Now, the best part is that we can build application using any language, any tool, or any framework, including both Microsoft specific and third-party software and systems. And we can integrate our public cloud application with our existing IT environment. So that is the main thing in Windows Azure. Now the Windows Azure architectures. Basically Windows Azure consists of three main components. As you can see here, we have Fabric Controller, we have storage, and we have compute. Or fabric is controlled by the fabric controller. So what is a fabric? It is the abstract set of computer resources in the data centers. It is used to manage and monitor the running services. These group of systems or these group of machines are managed by fabric controllers. So this is fabric controller. Now what is a storage? It is a part of Windows Azure, and it helps to manage the data in a reliable and scalable way. It provides three kinds of storage services. We can store in the form of tables, in the form of blobs, and in the form of cubes. Cubes means can only a limited amount of data. And third one is compute. So what is a compute? So what we have done, we have packaged fabric storage and all the APIs in the cloud and delivered to developers in the form of SDK. See, there are two ways to work on Windows Azure. Either we can download the Windows Azure SDK on our local system, and then we can we can work on that. We can create our web applications, okay, and we can test our application locally. Like with the help of SDK, we can test our application locally. Or what we can do, we can create our application locally, and to test that application, we can publish that application online on Windows Azure. So if you want to run and test your application locally, you need Windows Azure SDK, and that will be provided by Compute. So Compute combine fabric and storage together and form an SDK, and that SDK will be delivered to the client to the developer on its local system. Okay, and that SDK user can download for free and can run on the desktop. That means a developer can run and test application locally before deploying on the cloud. Right? Now Azure in nutshell, as you can see here, Windows Azure is a Microsoft cloud platform, and it has got a comprehensive set of services that enables you to quickly build, deploy and manage applications across a global network of Microsoft managed data centers. So there are set of services, okay, means that we have SaaS, PaaS and IaaS all together, like it is a set of services. This set of services means all the SaaS, PaaS and IaaS we have together, and it's open, as I have mentioned, as it is open. So you can consume these services from any device and from any part of the world. It is open. And in addition, because it is Microsoft, so just, okay, it is Microsoft or just it is Microsoft doesn't mean that you have to run only Microsoft code on it. We can run Linux code, PHP code, etc. also. Because we have high availability of SLA over here, software. So that's why it is flexible, that we can run any code on this, any type of code on this. Now this slide shows how the various option compares, then explicitly illustrate where the Windows Azure platform fits in. It means to make clear in the audience mind the exact place this in this broad area where we are about to dig into more deeply. So before we can understand the Microsoft cloud computing strategy, we must understand how the industry see the landscape. So as you can see here, just a second, yeah. So as you can see here, the first model is, as you can see here, we have a package software. So normally, traditionally what happened, all the information technology was managed by the customers on their own premises. So this model provides the customer with a high degree of control, but at a high cost of capital expenditure and maintenance in package software, because you have to download everything, you have to maintain application, you have to maintain servers, you have to maintain storage, you have to maintain network. So it will so it will be a high cost of capital expenditure and a maintenance part also. Another model is known as infrastructure as a service or IaaS, and is defined by hardware, either physically or virtual. In this model, a provider uses services in the cloud to offer the end user hardware for computing or storage needs. So as you can see here, being a developer or being an, so we will only be going to work on application, data, runtime, middleware and operating system and other, so the rest of the thing like server, storage, networking will be managed by the vendors, right? So the end user maintain control of the operating system and application on the hardware, right? Now the second model is another model is platform as a service or PaaS, and it is used to facilitate the development, testing, deployment, and ongoing maintenance of application. And in this model, the provider maintains the administrator and the underlying infrastructure for the end user. And in the third model is software as a service or SaaS. It supplies finished services and application over the internet to the customer who pay on a per use basis. So the customer will be going to use only the services. Customer will not be going. So there are ready-made applications. In this case, the customer will not going to build application also. The customer will only be going to use the ready-made application. And this is the most common form of cloud computing delivered today, because the customer, they don't want to spend a lot of time on developing an application. They want the ready-made application, and they are ready to pay money for that. So if you talk about the Windows Azure, so basically Windows Azure platform is PaaS. It means we'll be going to manage application or data on our premises, and the other thing, the runtime, middleware, operating system, server, storage, networking, everything will be managed by the vendors, right? So think of Windows Azure and the platform as operating system on the cloud. We have Windows Client, which is our client PC operating system, Windows Server, which is our operating system for your data centers, and Windows Azure is your operating system for the cloud. So everything is online. Okay. Now with Windows Azure platform, however, Microsoft manages and maintains the platform, freezing up your IT resources to focus on business objective. Also, because Windows Azure platform provides dynamic capacity that can scale up or down to meet your changing needs, and you achieve better resources utilization and lower cost. So any point of time, you can scale up your services, you can scale down your services, and we'll be going to pay only that much money for the services which we are using. For example, initially you get 20 GB of space or 250 GB of space or on cloud. If you want more space, you can pay more money, and if it means you can pay only that much money for the space you are using. For every services, you can see over here, for server, for storage, for networking, they have their different packages. So as soon as you start using the services, it will be started charging to you from your the credit card or from your account, or the information which you have provided. Now Azure is basically IaaS plus PaaS. It is hybrid ready. It's open and flexible, always up and always on, economical and scalable and everywhere. Now Azure is the only major cloud platform ranked by Gartner as the industry leader for both infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. That's why I mentioned over here IaaS plus PaaS. So this powerful combination of managed and unmanaged service lets you build, deploy, and manage application any way you like for unmatched productivity. Now hybrid ready, some cloud providers make you choose between your data centers and the public cloud, not Azure. Its enterprise proven hybrid cloud solution gives you best of both worlds, expanding your IT options without added complexities. So with Windows Azure, data storage, backup, and recovery become more efficient and economical because it is managed by the vendors. It is managed by Windows Azure by itself. It's open and flexible. Windows Azure supports any operating system, any language, tool, and framework. From Windows to Linux, SQL Server to Oracle, C# to Java, it put the best of Windows and Linux ecosystem at your fingertips. So you can build great applications and services that works with every device. Always up and always on. It means you will be share the same enterprise tested platform that powers Skype, Office 365, Bing, and because that is all the services are always on. So same thing with Windows Azure. So if we have placed anything on Windows Azure, it will be always on, always ready and always on. And economical and scalable, Azure can quickly scale up or down to match demands. So you can only pay for what you use. And there is a pre-minute billing also. Okay, means if you are using the services for 1 minute or for 1 hour, you will be only charged only for that much time, or for that much duration. And it's everywhere. So Azure runs on a growing global network of Microsoft managed centers. So they're across 13 regions, gives you a wide range of options for running applications and ensuring your customer always get great performance. So that's why that's why I mentioned over here, it is everywhere. It will, and Windows Azure is the first multinational cloud provider in mainland China, and it's continuing to expand to new region around the globe. It is growing more and more because the requirement of Azure is growing more. So these are the Microsoft Windows Azure data centers. We have 6 data centers across 3 continents right now. You can see over here 2 in US, 2 in Europe, and 2 in Asia, East Asia and Southeast Asia. Okay, so, and while working on Windows Azure, we can simply select the data centers of the choice where we want to deploy our application. Okay, so in our scenario, we can choose the nearest data centers. Now, why use Windows Azure? Because it's scale on demand and only pay for what you use. We can expand our business globally. It mix and match any type of data, develop and test applications faster. So that's the best part of Windows Azure, that we can develop and test the applications very quickly and very fast, and it can be accessed from any part of the world. It can be accessed on any device also, because it is coming through cloud. So we only need a internet connection on that, and with the help of browser, because we'll be going to access Windows Azure using a browser. So with the help of browser, we can access the Windows Azure from any part of the world or from any device, right? So these are the main components of Windows Azure: Cloud Fabric Controller, Web Roles, Worker Roles, and Storage. Now, what is a Azure Fabric Controller basically? So Azure Fabric Controller is the part of Windows Azure platform that monitors and manages servers and coordinates resources for software applications. The Azure Cloud Fabric Controller functions as the kernel of the Azure operating system. Okay, it provisions, stores, delivers, monitors, and commands the virtual machines and physical servers that make up Azure. And Windows Azure Fabric Controller is a distributed application, that is, replicate among the group of machines. It has its own set of resources in its own environment, like computers, load balancers, switches, etc. Since Windows Azure Fabric Controller can communicate with the Fabric agent on each machine, it keeps tracks of all Windows Azure applications in the Fabric, means how many applications are running and how many instances and what role they are playing. Windows Azure basically used for load balances and right. Sorry. And Windows Azure Fabric Controller, it achieves this using the configuration information which is uploaded and with each applications on Windows Azure. And the generic term Fabric is basically it's a framework. You can say that Fabric Controller is a framework, and Microsoft uses it in a proprietary manner to describe the servers, high-speed connections, load balancers, and switches that makes up the Azure cloud computing platform. Okay, so this is Windows Azure Fabric Controller. Now if we move on to Windows Azure roles, so there are basically 2 roles: worker roles and web roles. Web roles is a cloud service, and cloud services are really where platform as a service ideology really begin to work for you. Okay, web roles allow developers much more control over the environment. With the help of web roles, we can have a control on the environment. They are created within virtual machines and allow developers direct access to IaaS, because web roles runs in virtual machine. So what does it mean? It means that with a virtual environment, you have to stay up to date on patches of the operating system and web servers along with any other maintenance that machine will require. With a web role, that is not necessary,